Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 455 based on novel. So let's start. Liuan concentrated all his attention, reading the picture of Na Yin technique. There were countless characters on the picture, but fortunately, Liuan had an incredible memory, so he was able to memorize all the characters instantly with only one look. Na Yin. Liuan pondered the material of that technique in silence. He wanted to get a deeper understanding of it, and he needed to train on the basis of the material later. There was a saying that sharpening one's axe wouldn't delay the cutting of firewood. This was definitely a crucial moment for Liuan, so he needed to be patient. He couldn't rush it. This Na Yin technique is very demanding, the purple-horned strange beast said. Since the time when I was created by my master, countless peerless talents have tried to get it, but nobody has ever succeeded. Liuan glanced at the purple-horned strange beast and was shocked. Countless peerless talents? He didn't think countless peerless talents had made their way to the 8th floor. As for you, you might fail. The purple-horned strange beast took a look at Liuan. Liuan concentrated all his attention on the picture and kept analyzing and pondering it. He soon knew the detailed steps for practice, and as soon as he understood all the procedures, he immediately started to practice. The purple-horned strange beast was a bit surprised. He started just like that, without any signs. But I bet he might fail in the end. The beast bent its hoofs and lay in the palace. It had its head lowered, and it was waiting beside Liuan, waiting for him to fail so he could send him out. Once Liuan started the training, his entire body and all of the bodies he had couldn't help being immersed in the techniques he read before. The Earthling original body, Golden Horned Beast body, Mosha body, and Remote Ocean body all started to practice. In the primal universe, in the primal secret region of the human territory, the enormous Remote Ocean suddenly became tranquil, and there was a trace of white light glinting across the entire ocean. They were fires, each emitting white light indiscriminately. At the same time, the white light gave off mental shocks that were being enhanced gradually, waves of which permeated Remote Ocean. Some of the undying fighters and sector lords in spaceships flying above Remote Ocean felt a horrendous willpower shock sweeping through them. They all passed out instantly. Remote Ocean was vast, and it was the most important place in the primal secret region. Many universe masters from the Hong Alliance gathered here, and with the willpower shock permeating from the tumbling, endless Remote Ocean, many sector lords, undying fighters, and even universe knights passed out. This shocked many great beings in the primal secret region. What happened to the Remote Ocean body of Milky Way Horde leader? Why is there white light everywhere? The willpower shock is terrific. Even universe knights couldn't withstand it. Such a strong willpower shock. Even I feel pressured. Universe masters from the Hong Alliance stood on the edge of Remote Ocean, staring across the vast waters. Some human universe masters also appeared. Where does that willpower shock come from? Ice Mountain Master asked with a frown. I don't know. It just now happened, said a universe master of another race who was clearly inferior. Ice Mountain Master had obtained some guidance of the ancient civilization from Liuan, so he had reached level 5 quickly. With the first level of godly power burning technique, his power was greatly improved. There was shining white light everywhere in Remote Ocean, and the willpower shock pervaded. Even universe knights can't resist it. Everyone was astounded, but nobody was sure what had happened. They could only speculate. Many universe masters from the Hong Alliance transmitted their voices. Milky Way Horde leader is in the world of Jin. Did he get some powerful technique there, so he's practicing it at the moment? A being showed up, giving out endless power. It was Primal Chaos City leader. He was a universe supreme master, so everyone showed him great respect. Relay my orders. Primal Chaos City leader yelled. Take away all those who are unconscious and stop any great being from entering Remote Ocean. Yes. Yes. 8 universe masters answered the order from Primal Chaos City leader, and they immediately went to make arrangements. Primal Chaos City leader was gazing at endless Remote Ocean. He looked worried, but he immediately hid it. What happened to you, Liuan? I tried to transmit my voice to you, but you didn't reply at all. Where does that willpower shock come from? Primal Chaos City leader was concerned. The primal secret region wasn't the only place affected. Milky Way Holy Land was also trapped in waves of indiscriminate mind shocks. On the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower in the world of Jin, Luo Feng stood still on that floating island without moving a single muscle. His body was bathed in white light. Waves of mind shocks emanated from his body, and each trace of godly power in his body was covered by a white engraving picture. The pictures penetrated the life imprint on each slice of godly power. It was the ultimate test for souls, yet also the most fundamental. During the test, Luo Feng's mind naturally merged with his godly body. Normally, a great being's willpower was attached to nothing. Once the great being died, his godly body wouldn't produce any willpower shock. However, Luo Feng's willpower was gradually being combined with each trace of his godly body. His willpower had a foundation now, and only after that could he perform the willpower technique, as it was the prerequisite for all willpower techniques such as godly eye technique. After that, even if a great being died, a drop of blood, a hair, a tooth, each part of his body would contain incredible willpower. It took a long time. After more than 900 years, the white light shining on Luo Feng's body turned blue. The willpower shock in remote oceans surged. Some of the universe masters waiting in the distance were irritated. Only those with strong willpower could withstand it easily, yet the mediocre ones had a hard time bearing it. What happened? Why does the willpower shock grow stronger? In the space on the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower, the being surrounded by black light and cloaked in a luxurious royal cape looked at Luo Feng standing in the distance. He's already entered phase 2. The being in black light shook his body. His eyes glinted with excitement. A talent was born in the world of Jin? Even I didn't expect this. That picture was widely spread. Many peerless talents entered the picture, yet few of could make it to phase 2. Can he succeed? He must. He must. The being in black looked anxious and worried. Inside the picture world, the purple-horned strange beast had its head lowered originally, but it now looked at Luo Feng, who was practicing, in awe. He's entered the second phase, it said. There are 3 phases in Na Yin technique, and he's entered phase 2. Since I was born, many talents from all powers came in before. Some had invaluable inheritances, and some received incredible training from birth. However, the number of those who could make it through phase 1 to phase 2 was less than 50. Who is this kid? Where does he come from? Is he a supreme talent cultivated by Jin's godly king? Days went by. Luo Feng had no idea what he had caused. Pain. Torture. Agony. Those words described how Luo Feng felt. He knew that Na Yin technique had 3 phases after he started training. The first phase was easy for him, but after he started the second phase, each inch of his life imprint started to go through the worst torture in the world. It was like a needle piercing each inch of his life imprint, or it was like being dropped into the middle of a wildfire. It was just as painful as the time Star Tower had recognized him as its master. Fortunately, Luo Feng was much stronger than he had been when Star Tower recognized him as its master, so he could bear the pain on his life imprint. Even though he was able to bear the pain, his life imprint itself might not be able to bear it, as that was a totally different scenario. Luo Feng could easily bear the pain on his life imprint. However, if the life imprint itself couldn't bear the pain, and it broke, Luo Feng would die. Is it dangerous to practice Na Yin technique? Regardless, he was already practicing, so there was no turning back. It's phase 2 already. The purple-horned strange beast was watching. If only he can enter phase 3. Since it was seized by Jin Godly King, nobody under him is able to enter phase 2. You brat. Just try to enter phase 3. If you can. Well, you'll die if you fail at that stage. However, if you succeed, you'll be second only to the Godly King in the world of Jin. The purple-horned strange beast was looking forward to it. Its destiny was to find the suitable inheritor. Once the inheritor was found, the spirit of technique would disappear. However, it didn't care about what happened after the phase. From birth, its sole purpose had been to find the inheritor. The being in the black light stared at Luo Feng in the space on the 8th floor. Enter phase 3. Enter phase 3. Only about 10 peerless talents have ever entered phase 3 from all the powers combined. Only 3 of them survived, while all the others died. The first and second phases were safe. However, when someone entered phase 3, they would either succeed or die. Of course, there were many ways to survive in the ancient civilization. Even though all the peerless talents failed at phase 3, 3 had managed to save their lives. However, my original body is already dead, so I can do nothing to save your life. If you can survive phase 3, be grateful for me. If you can't, the black light being just shook his head. 300 years after the blue light appeared in the primal secret region of the human territory. The blue light became purple, and the purple light connected to form a giant, mysterious ancient engraving picture. The shock of willpower from remote ocean surged. Most of the universe masters in the Hong Alliance fainted and fell down. Only 2 universe masters remained conscious. The entire human camp was astounded. The willpower shock that spread indiscriminately from Milky Way Horde leader knocked 37 out of 39 universe masters unconscious, and only Void Gold Master and Bu Huan Master were still awake. The entire Hong Alliance was dumbfounded. And the shock had been outspread. If it were to be concentrated, it would be horrific. Does that mean the willpower shock from Milky Way Horde leader could finish off almost all universe masters? Even universe supreme masters might suffer losses if they are not careful enough. The seniors of Hong Alliance were all thrilled. Primal Chaos City leader gave a strict order: nobody in the Hong Alliance is allowed to leak this news. Only universe masters in the Hong Alliance can know about it, and if anyone dares to leak the news, he'll be treated as a traitor. Milky Way Holy Land and the primal secret region were heavily guarded. Everything was concealed. Although many sector lords and undying fighters had lost consciousness, they didn't know how terrific the willpower shock of Luofen was. Primal Chaos City leader stood on endless remote ocean, looked to afar and thought, Luofen, come back safely no matter what. He understood that it was not easy to become so incredibly skilled. It could be inferred that Luofen might be in grave danger, as he was totally cut off from the outer world. On the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower in the world of Jin, purple light shone on Luofeng's godly body. Giant purple images were ingrained in each trace of his godly power. The willpower shock was spread everywhere. Phase 3. He has entered Phase 3. Only one creature in the world of Jin entered level 8, yet he failed instantly after the first try. I never expected such a miracle to happen in world of Jin. A law master entered Phase 3. He's only one step away from the final success. If he succeeds. I've been waiting for this moment for an infinite amount of time. The being in the black couldn't help but be excited. However, he was also anxious. Don't fail. It's the last phase. Don't fail. A miracle has already happened. Will there be a second? He understood that the possibility of a creature in the world of Jin succeeding was almost zero. The so-called ceiling task was only a dream. He was just there waiting for a miracle. But now, the miracle was happening. Many talents had tried and failed. This was indeed a miracle. Inside the picture world, the purple horned strange beast looked at Luofen. It could tell that this law master was going through a nightmare. This is the bottom line. My master created this technique, and it's very demanding on souls. If you can't reach the bottom line, you'll die. Brat, the purple horned strange beast grew anxious. Please, keep it up. Keep it up. If you can go through this, you'll be led to a new world. Time flew, and during Luofeng's practice of Na Yin technique, especially at the 3rd phase, he felt that his soul was being crushed. It was nearly annihilated. However, when he couldn't hold it anymore, his soul morphed a bit. During the 3rd phase, his soul could quickly adapt every time it hit the limit. Luofen couldn't help but wonder every time when he reached a limit, am I naturally fit for this technique? Maybe it was like Star Tower recognizing him as a master and resisting the willpower shock from the godly eye. However, learning Na Yin technique didn't have much to do with willpower. After all, there were many supreme talents in the ancient civilization. Some of them had managed to attain the willpower level of eternal true gods, yet they had still failed. Willpower was only a part of Na Yin technique, the soul itself was more important. Luofeng's soul was being crushed. Under Na Yin technique, he quickly adapted and felt much more relaxed against the agony he had felt at the start. Comfortable, thought Luofen. He started to enjoy practicing the 3rd phase. After 90 years of practice, everything was finished. Luofen opened his eyes with a smile. He felt incredibly comfortable. The purple horned strange beast lay directly in front of Luofen. Its giant face startled Luofen when he opened his eyes. Spirit of techniques, what are you? Luofen took 2 steps back. The purple horned strange beast stared at Luofen and whispered, I'm just looking at where you come from. How did you succeed? For what it's worth, congratulations that you're qualified to practice the technique created by my master. The purple-horned strange beast smirked. Who's your master? Luo Feng couldn't help asking. Was it His Majesty the Godly King in the world of Jin? It didn't feel like it. Humph. Listen carefully, said the purple-horned strange beast. Even though my master doesn't know who you are, he gave you the technique. Remember the name of my master. My master was called Yuan. He was a real supreme being who wasn't bound by any powers. Yuan? Luo Feng remembered the name. Okay. You finished Na Yin technique, and you fit all the requirements. You're qualified to get the mighty technique created by my master. The purple-horned strange beast sighed. I've lived for such a long time, and now, I can finally go back to the technique itself. The entire purple-horned strange beast disintegrated into light, flooding Luo Feng's mind. Mountains of information were injected into Luo Feng's brain. In the space of the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower, the being in black looked around anxiously. It had been almost 90 years, but he was finally relieved when the light around Luo Feng withered away and the star characters in the space rushed toward Luo Feng. He smiled in peace. I'm worth it now, said the being in black. Then he smiled and disappeared. Luo Feng was the only one left on the floating island. He stood there, still. After a long time, he opened his eyes. The floor on the 8th level. Luo Feng looked around. The characters had already disappeared from the space around him. After learning the information, Luo Feng now understood that those characters were scripted into his body. Yuan? Luo Feng recalled the information about the technique he had just gotten, and he couldn't help but admire that being. The technique was called Liuan technique. It was an unremarkable name, yet it belonged to a supreme being in the ancient civilization. Liuan technique was also a willpower technique, but it was totally different from the godly eye technique. Godly eye technique required willpower at the level of a true god of void space, so Luo Feng was able to practice it now. Liuan technique required willpower at a consecrated level. Godly eye technique was relatively inferior, and it was useful to true gods of void space, and eternal true gods. As for Liuan technique, it could drive even godly kings crazy. It was an exceptional technique. If His Majesty the Godly King in the world of Jin could practice Liuan technique and achieve something, his power would surge, while Jin would suppress other powers. It was a technique that could change the power dynamic. However, it had been created by Yuan, who was removed from power struggles. The technique had led to countless battles in the ancient civilization. Even though Godly King of Jin couldn't practice it by himself, he had tried to let the talents under him practice it. They had all failed, until Luo Feng showed up. A pillar shot down and covered Luo Feng. Then he disappeared from the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower. Luo Feng arrived at the 9th level. This meant he had succeeded. He would gain Wu Chi God and be sealed. Luo Feng stood in a square palace. There were ancient sculptures on the wall, which were of a special style unique to the world of Jin. This is the 9th floor of Wu Chi Tower? Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Other than being sealed and gaining Wu Chi God, Luo Feng's other goal was to learn the secret hidden behind all this. Suddenly, a voice came from the silent area in front of him. Come in. Following the ancient and solemn passage, Luo Feng advanced along the secluded path. It was composed of numerous huge, squared stone slabs. Every slab had a different carving. No two sculptures were the same. Each was carved to so-called perfection. Even Luo Feng himself could not help but admire these sculptures every time he lowered his head toward the slabs. What might have looked like normal roads and courtyard walls were, in fact, rich with hidden luxuries. Turning the corner, he saw a door that had been left open. With a single glance, Luo Feng looked beyond the door and saw that inside the room, there were some automaton components and weapon parts placed about casually and in a messy manner. Luo Feng walked to the door and saw a man wearing a beautiful robe. He was looking intently at several different automaton components placed beside him. The man in the beautiful robe turned and looked toward Luo Feng. Then he smiled. Since you are here, do take a seat first. Up ahead was an exquisite black throne. Luo Feng did not say a word. Obediently, he went to the throne and sat down. Since it was His Majesty the Godly King who had created Wu Chi Tower, and had designed so many difficult obstacles that had caused countless elite warriors of the world of Jin to perish one after the other, he must have had a goal in mind. This man, Luo Feng, took a careful look. Strange. Even the virtual consciousness of the previous Duan Dong River carried an air of oppressive force. How could he not have even the slightest bit of oppressive force? It was as though Luo Feng was still a child and had run into an elderly old grandfather from his neighborhood. He looked at the man before him and could not help but feel a sort of amicable nature toward him. He had no fear. Instead, he felt very much at home. Impressive. Luo Feng was secretly shocked. Even with the strength of my willpower, I am still unable to control myself. I have already developed good-natured feelings for him. The man wearing the beautiful robe looked toward Luo Feng. You must be very curious. Why did Godly King create this Wuqi Tower? Why design so many difficult obstacles? Now, let me tell you why. First, I have to tell you my identity. I am the Godly King of this world of Jin. Luo Feng was astonished. His Majesty the Godly King. He might have guessed as much, but he had not dared to believe it. This common-looking man, who bore the look of an ordinary grandfather from Earth, was His Majesty the Godly King. Technically, I am the virtual consciousness left behind by His Majesty the Godly King after he was gone, said the man in the beautiful robe as he looked at Luo Feng. Virtual consciousness? In his heart, Luo Feng was secretly shocked. But things were just as he had guessed. His Majesty the Godly King had truly died. You don't seem to be overly surprised, said the man, still looking at Luo Feng. Seems like everything is within your expectations. I may have observed you from afar, but there is nothing else I can tell about you. But now I know, you are not a life form from my world of Jin. Luo Feng was inwardly shocked. He almost wanted to self-destruct right away. But on the outside, Luo Feng maintained a calm composure. I am not exactly indifferent, he said. I do still feel shocked, but everything you just said was simply unbelievable. That is why I still maintain a dubious attitude. You say you are His Majesty the Godly King. Then you say you are the virtual consciousness left behind by the Godly King after he died. The noble Godly King is very far from me, and how could it be possible for him to die? Also, you mentioned that I am not a life form from the world of Jin. What do you mean? Ha ha, the man wearing the beautiful robe laughed joyfully. No need to put up your guard against me. There is no need for worries. He laughed again and said, I will tell you everything in detail. Then you will understand. Luo Feng listened carefully. Back then, a hint of recollection flashed in the eyes of the man in the robe. It was a long, long time ago. I chose a hopeless road that seemed to lead to nowhere but doom, so before I set off, I created this Wuqi Tower in my world of Jin and left the mission to receive a title. Even if I failed, then perhaps I would still have a shot at reversing the situation. Then I left. But only after I left a virtual consciousness here. One that had all my memories and thoughts. It was almost my essence in its entirety. The only difference was that it was not a true life form. Of course, even though I am this virtual consciousness in my subconscious mind, I still think of myself as the Godly King. Luo Feng nodded to indicate his understanding. After all, this virtual consciousness did possess all the memories and thoughts of that His Majesty the Godly King of Jin. After the Godly King left, I truly have no idea what kind of dangers he encountered, continued the man in the robe. After all, I was unable to establish contact with him. He sighed. Through my understanding of the world of Jin, I eventually found out, on a particular day, that the Godly King had been annihilated. Wuqi Tower has a total of 9 levels, he continued. The 9th level is where one can connect to the core of the universe origin of the entire world of Jin. I frequent the core of the origin of the world of Jin, and the annihilation of Godly King inevitably led to a major change to the core. He looked at Luo Feng. Besides, I have concluded that you are not a life form from my world of Jin, because the moment you entered the 9th level, the core of universe origin that the 9th level was connected to did not acknowledge your presence. If you were a life form from within the world of Jin, then you would be regarded as a child of the world of Jin. Being acknowledged as one is automatic. Furthermore, you would also be unquestionably loyal to His Majesty the Godly King, willing to die for him. Luo Feng understood. It was just like how the life form's 9 remoteness master created paid absolute loyalty to him. The same theory applied here. Life forms within the world of Jin would be absolutely loyal to His Majesty the Godly King. The 4 great commanders were no exception. Just one order from the Godly King asking for them to sacrifice themselves, and they would comply without hesitation. Oh. Well, since you are aware of this, how do you wish to proceed? Luo Feng was growing increasingly wary. Killing him would be far too easy, given his opponent's ability. There was no questioning this. But for a high and mighty godly king to spend so much time telling him all these details, he must have had an agenda. "You only need to take an oath," said the man in the beautiful robe, laughing light-heartedly as he spoke. "In the future, when you become a great being at the level of a godly king, you must do your utmost best to kill the other three pinnacle existences." Luo Feng was taken aback. An oath? The ancient civilization certainly had many oaths that reached deep within the soul. If an oath was broken, total destruction of body and soul would be the only outcome. It was absolute annihilation. When I become a great being at the level of a godly king? Luo Feng was shocked into a flustered state. I am merely a law master now. "Which is why you have no cause for concern," said the robed man, shaking his head. "At the moment, all this is still far beyond your reach. You are unable to render any help to my world of Jinn. This will just be a promise you give to me. A promise to be realized when you become a godly king. Fret not. Once you have given your promise, there are only good things awaiting you. If you choose to reject it and choose to self-destruct, the moment you do so, I will have to annihilate your soul. I know that most life forms from outside my world of Jinn have the ability to divide bodies." Luo Feng was dumbstruck. It seemed His Majesty the godly king here had a great understanding of many things. "I know more than you might expect," said the man as he gazed at Luo Feng. "Make your choice then. To promise or to reject?" Luo Feng laughed in a resigned manner, then said, "Do I even have a choice?" What a joke. This had been left behind by a godly king. Luo Feng had to believe it was true. Even if he chose to self-destruct, the moment it happened, his soul would probably be annihilated, and his various other bodies would be annihilated at the same time. That meant absolute death. Moreover, the promise in question would only have to be fulfilled after he became a godly king. A godly king, indeed. How distant that was. It would mean rising above an eternal true god. Luo Feng himself was not even sure he could cultivate to that level. After all, based on all the bits of information he had gathered, he had hypothesized that a godly king was likely comparable to the 3 generations of ancestors. "I must verify that you mean everything you promised," said the man in the robe, "and that your oath is true. After all, I am only a virtual consciousness. If I am cheated by you..." He laughed, then pointed to the surroundings far in the distance. Instantly, up in midair, many strands of lore engravings started appearing. In a short moment, the surroundings were encapsulated by a giant cage composed of countless lore engravings. Misty cyan-colored light moved over to enshroud Luo Feng. "This way, I will be able to track any trace of change in your soul," the robed man said with a smile. "If you are not truthful, I will also, The man in the beautiful robe suddenly stood up wearing a look of surprise. Luo Feng was taken aback. The man appeared awestruck as looked at Luo Feng and said, You. What about me?" Luo Feng was filled with doubts. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Ha ha. The man in the beautiful robe laughed loudly and without any inhibitions. With an incomparable satisfaction, he laughed. Luo Feng felt all the more uncertain. What was the matter? "Disperse." The man wearing the beautiful robe pointed in midair, and the countless lore engravings that were originally suspended in the void space completely dispersed. "Your Majesty, godly king, didn't you want me to swear an oath?" Luo Feng said, at a loss. "There's no need to," said the man in the beautiful robe. He smiled at Luo Feng. "Since you have already finished the cultivation of the 9-volume manual, there is no need for you to take an oath." The 9-volume manual? Luo Feng was greatly taken aback, so stunned that he lost all composure. The 9-volume manual? This was the manual that had truly changed his destiny. It was all thanks to the 9-volume manual that he was able to make it this far along his path as a great being. If not for the 9-volume manual, perhaps he would still have become a great being, but not to the extent of his current achievement. The 9-volume manual, according to teacher Sitting Mountain Guest, was a creation he had created, and it could only be imparted to a single cultivator. This chosen one had to be a life form from the pulse of the earthlings in order to be able to cultivate it. What is the... Luo Feng's mind seemed about to burst with an overwhelming surge of thoughts gushing in endlessly. Only an earthling could cultivate the 9-volume manual. And only one cultivator was allowed to cultivate it. If Sitting Mountain Guest had created this manual, How did His Majesty the Godly King know about it? Yes. Liuan had been suspicious, even long ago, that the 9-volume manual was simply too formidable. Its creation was something that other true gods could never have achieved. Even Purple Moon Ancestor and East Emperor Ancestor, as well informed as they were, had never conceived of the creation of such a formidable manual. And yet, Sitting Mountain Guest had created it without ceremony. What is it about the 9-volume manual? Liuan pressed on. Ha ha. This 9-volume manual, the man in the beautiful robe said with a laugh, was a set of lost knowledge from my world of Jinn that should never have been revealed. Upon cultivating it, not only will one's godly body undergo a rapid change, but it will also be a great deal of help to the soul. It is a super set of knowledge that will bring about an absolute change in one's talent in the area of comprehension. So long as one has cultivated the 9-volume manual, he would be the true core of my Jinn nation. You have cultivated the 9-volume manual, so naturally, you belong to the pulse of my Jinn. When you rise in the future, if you do not kill the other 3, they will come after your life instead. So, most certainly, there is no longer a need for you to take an oath. This video will end here.